Hello everyone, welcome to Philosophy Espresso, your quick dose of deep thinking. In today's vlog, we dive into the reality of climate change, its effects on all of us. No matter our place in society, climate change is no longer a distant theory or future scenario. It's happening now, all around us. The impacts are becoming more apparent and impossible to ignore. Consider the heat waves in Europe, floods in South Asia, and wildfires in California and Australia. This is no longer the exception. It's our reality. Research shows that tipping points could be reached as soon as 2030, with global temperatures likely exceeding 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Beyond 1.5 degrees, the risks multiply exponentially. Melting ice caps could release methane and ocean currents may weaken. Systems like the Amazon rainforest could collapse. Each degree beyond 1.5 degrees brings more severe and irreversible impacts. Despite global agreements and promises, CO2 emissions continue to rise year after year. It's a stark reminder that, in reality, little progress is being made. Our models try to predict outcomes, but let's face it, climate change doesn't follow spreadsheets or political timelines. And here's the irony. We like to believe we have control, that we can manage this crisis with plans and models, but nature has its own rules. We're not just running out of time, we're running out of illusions about how much time we really have. As we look at the measures being taken to combat climate change, one thing stands out. Many of them seem to primarily benefit the wealthy. Subsidies for electric cars, for example, often go to those who can already afford new vehicles. Similarly, incentives for home renovations, like installing solar panels or upgrading to energy-efficient heating systems, are only realistic for homeowners with significant financial resources. This creates a stark divide, leaving those with fewer resources behind. It's also clear that these measures aren't enough. CO2 emissions continue to rise every year, highlighting the ineffectiveness of the current approach. Perhaps only drastic measures can effectively combat climate change. Ideas like mandatory remote work policies, a one-child policy, limiting households to one car, and banning personal car usage, while maintaining accessible public transport options, might sound extreme, but they may be the only way to drive real change. The wealthiest 1% of the global population is responsible for a staggering 15% of all CO2 emissions, more than the combined emissions of the poorest 50%. This stark inequality highlights the divide between the wealthy and the poorest communities, who are often the most affected by climate change. This forces us to reflect on who holds the greatest responsibility for this crisis and what should be done to change it. Perhaps it's time for everyone, regardless of status, to confront this shared responsibility before it's too late. This brings us to an intriguing question. What about the superrich? With their immense resources, they seem untouchable. Their secluded islands, fortified luxury bunkers, and advanced security systems appear as unbreachable strongholds. But what happens when the first climate-driven disasters strike on a global scale, as early as 2030? Imagine a catastrophic flood displacing millions, cutting off supply chains, and destroying elite coastal properties like those in Miami or the Hamptons. The chaos that follows, food shortages, water scarcity, and economic collapse, won't discriminate. People driven by desperation don't care about wealth, they care about survival. In such a scenario, even the super rich will struggle to maintain their safety. No security system can fully protect against widespread unrest, protests, or even looting when basic resources run out. His chaos isn't a far-off scenario. It could unfold within our lifetimes. Even the super rich, with their wealth and fortresses, cannot escape a planet in crisis. Climate change spares no one. It's time for everyone to confront this shared responsibility before it's too late.